Hi everyone, my name is Jesus Gringo and this video is titled, I'm calling all of Trump's Russia collusion now to say I told you so. We know exactly how the collusion happened and why. I have no problem with people waiting to see the direct evidence before starting impeachment proceedings or trying Trump in a court of law. That is a standard that we have to adhere to. That's not what I'm complaining about. I'm complaining about all the fucking liars or inbred fucking morons who act like we don't know how the collusion happened and why. We do. Just over a year ago, Craig Unger released his blistering report showing Trump has been laundering Russian mob money, Russian oligarch money for decades. That's when the collusion started. Trump was going bankrupt. The other banks wouldn't lend to him because he wouldn't pay it back. So Russia comes to him with an offer and says, look, you launder all this dirty money and we'll overpay for Trump properties in cash. They spent over $100 million in cash, the hallmark of money laundering. And we know Trump's a money launderer because he already paid a $10 million fine for laundering money through his Taj Mahal casino. He also paid a $25 million fine for his fraudulent university, and we know he stole from his charity to pay Mar-a-Lago legal fees. He's been a criminal his entire life, we know that. So that's when the collusion with Russia started. It didn't start during the election. It started decades ago when he started laundering their money. So then you fast forward a few decades and Obama blocks an oil deal between ExxonMobil and Russia worth up to $9 trillion based on 57 billion barrels of oil. On top of that, they passed the Magnitsky Act, which froze all of Russia's oligarch money in Western bank accounts. So they got the money out, which is the reason they wanted to money launder through Trump properties. It's in case Putin ever loses power, their fortunes don't go up in flames the very next day. So they got their money out, but then it got frozen. They can't touch it. So Russia has a $9 trillion oil motive and their frozen bank accounts as a motive to install the guy who's been laundering their money for decades. Now, I want to be clear, whether or not there is actual evidence that Russia did the hacking, I'm fine with people who are skeptical of our intelligence agencies that lie all the time, are skeptical of the evidence. That is fine. But if you don't think Russia would have done everything in their power to install the guy who's been laundering their money for decades, you're a fucking idiot. In other words, you should be demanding proof that it wasn't Russia, because no one had a bigger motive than Russia, because Hillary was going to keep those sanctions in place and Russia knew it. So Russia comes to Trump and says, look, we'll give you dirt on Hillary, which in and of itself is not illegal. We have the First Amendment. All these analysis claiming just accepting the dirt is illegal have their heads up their ass. It might be in a campaign violation because that dirt has value and they didn't pay Russia for it, but that's not a big crime. That's not a collusion crime. That's a campaign finance crime, and the teeth on those crimes are so weak. That is not going to bring Trump down. And we do have the First Amendment. No, the collusion was a quid-pro-quo bribe. $9 trillion in oil sanctions relief and lifting the Magnitsky Act in exchange for dirt on Hillary. So it was a quid-pro-quo bribe. And we already have circumstantial evidence that both sides carried out their sides of that bribe before the election even happened. Russia installed Paul Manafort, a man who was in debt $20 million to a Russian gangster he ripped off. So Manafort comes and volunteers to work for free for the Trump campaign. The only part of the Republican Party platform they changed before the election was to soften the Republican stance on Putin's illegal actions in Crimea. So we already have the quid pro quo before the election. Then after the election, Trump installs Rex Tillerson, who's the other half of that blocked oil deal, and he immediately goes to work trying to remove those sanctions. That's what the collusion was, a $9 trillion quid pro quo bribe. And we also know that the official Trump reason for those Russian meetings was adoption. Do you know why adoption was blocked? Because of the fucking Magnitsky Act. Russia retaliated and blocked adoptions. So even their official reason for meeting with the Russians, adoptions, was the worst code word ever to cover up it was really about sanctions relief. Even their fucking cover-up tells us why they met with the Russians. We have the Trump sons saying their money came from Russia. We have the guy bragging in a bar, I think it was Carter Page, but maybe it was somebody else, saying the Russians were helping the Trump campaign. That's how the investigation started. So we know exactly what happened. Trump laundered their money. Russia saw they could get their money launderer into the White House without having to go to war or start a Cold War, simply by spending some money trying to hack the Democrats. And again, whether we ever get physical evidence of that or not, if you don't immediately understand why Russia would want to install the guy that's been illegally laundering their money for decades that they have leverage over, you have no fucking idea how the world works. I need to see proof it wasn't Russia. That's how big their fucking motive was. So we know why they wanted to go to bat for Trump. We know they offered the dirt. We know Trump took the meeting. We know everybody lied about the meeting. We know they lied on their disclosure forms. We have the entire circumstantial case of the collusion, and I just laid it out for you. So when all of this is proven in a court of law and everything is leaked, I fully intend to use this video to show who the absolute dumbasses and liars were on Trump's Russian collusion. That's the video. I hope you liked it. My name's Jesus Gringo. If you did, please subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching.